Hello, it's Maria here, and today we're going to be drawing animals, mainly cats and dogs. If you have a pet at home, this project is the perfect chance for you to try and draw them. In order to draw a dog, we need to have a basic understanding of a dog's anatomy. From a quick look at a dog, you might think that it just has 4 legs coming out of its belly and then that it has backwards knees. But this actually isn't the case at all. A dog's anatomy is very similar to our own. If you imagine a crawling child with slightly different proportions, you essentially have the anatomy of a dog. Besides the fact that they have a tail, dogs have the exact same body parts that we do. On their back legs, their pelvis goes into their knees, goes into heels and toes. In their front legs, they have a shoulder blade with a shoulder that goes into an elbow, hands, and fingers. Cats have a very similar anatomy to dogs. If we compare this to a crawling person, we see that all the same body parts are still there, but the proportions are different. For cats and dogs, their knees and elbows are tucked very close to their body, and their feet are also much longer than ours, so technically they're always standing on their toes. Because of the length of our arms and legs compared to the length of our bodies, it would be really uncomfortable if we tried to sit the same way a cat or a dog did. However, it's still possible. We have the same joints and body parts, just different proportions. If you have this basic understanding of the body parts that cats and dogs have, you can draw it in any position. Fur usually makes it harder to see all the parts in the arms or legs. It's just important that you know that these limbs aren't coming from the belly. They all connect to the spine, which is at the top of the body, and goes from the neck to the tail. For your project today, you're going to be drawing a dog or a cat and coloring it with colored pencil. You can either find a reference on the internet or use a picture of your own pet. With every drawing you do, you should start off by just marking how much space it will take up on the paper. Use a very light hand with the pencil and don't push hard. After that, I do some very light, messy lines marking where each of the limbs will be, the tail and the head. I'm not worried about details at all until I know where they will be. I'm going to make sure to make the knees and elbows at least slightly visible in my drawing so it doesn't just look like the limbs are 4 sticks coming out of a blob. When drawing an animal face, remember that the eyes on both cats and dogs are very round. Nearly all cats and dogs are very fluffy. In order to create a fur texture really easily with colored pencils, you're going to do lots of short strokes in the direction of the fur. It's really important you do it in the direction of the fur because otherwise it just looks like you're really messily filling in an outline. Colored pencils are all about layering. In a certain spot, you should start off by using a light color or pressing very lightly on the pencil and then only pressing harder or using a darker color on top of that. It's difficult to erase a dark color and to go back. You can also mix 2 colors by simply drawing them on top of each other. In this cat drawing, I mixed a lot of grays and a lot of brown. First, I used a very light gray everywhere because this cat didn't really have any white spots on it. Then I went in with darker grays and browns and added shading or texture where I needed it. The entire time, I was shading in the direction that the fur is going. If the fur is longer, you're going to use longer pencil strokes. If the fur is shorter, you're going to use shorter ones. That's why on the body, I used longer ones, but on the face, I had very short strokes. Whenever you're shading or coloring something, you definitely need to be aware of what the lightest part of the drawing is and what the darkest part of it is. The rest of the colors in your drawing need to stay between these 2 values. And as with any kind of realistic drawing, remember that an animal is 3D. It will probably have some shading or darker areas on the bottom of the stomach or bottom of the feet. It will also leave a slight shadow on the ground. My cat is finished. Now, it's your turn.